President Biden is meeting with a group of Democratic lawmakers to outline possible pathways to citizenship for undocumented people brought to the U.S. as children. The meeting follows a ruling by a federal judge blocking new applications for the Deferred Action for Childhood Arrivals program known as DACA. That placed extra pressure on Congress to pass legislation to help the so-called Dreamers. Here's what New Jersey Democratic Senator Bob Menendez had to say this morning before the meeting.
I want to hear what the president's goals are. He's the one who called the meeting. But from my perspective, it is to, beyond DACA, although I certainly support DACA, it is to find a pathway forward to create a process of earned legalization for as many undocumented people in the country. And at a minimum, yes, it should include DACA. Yes, it should include TPS. It should include essential workers, the people who risked their lives while we were all home, staying home during the pandemic, but they were out there in the food supply chain, making sure that we had that opportunity. So those are my goals. I want to hear what the president is proposing, and I want to hear what he's thinking, and I'm sure we'll have some suggestions.
For more, I'm joined by Caitlin Dickerson. She's a staff writer for The Atlantic, and she focuses on immigration. Hi there, Caitlin. So what do we know about what the White House wants Congress to do to help Dreamers?
Well, what we know is that the Biden administration is talking through now with Democrats options for trying to provide a pathway to citizenship for Dreamers, especially now that new applicants aren't going to be allowed into this program. I feel almost like a broken record, Elaine, talking about, the situation with DACA again, because we've been here before so many times. This program, because it was enacted through an executive order and not into law, it's very much subject to changes in politics and including the opinions not just of the president, the current sitting president, but as we saw based on this ruling in Texas, federal judges as well. And so what Biden's doing now is trying to talk through with Democrats, what can we do to try to protect this population? But, the difficulty there, the challenge is that group and some of the more universally kind of agreed upon and welcomed groups across the political spectrum in the United States, like TPS holders and like essential workers, like Bob Menendez was talking about. If Democrats move to create special provisions for those groups that allow them to stay in the United States, the question is, what political capital then do they have to move on and deal with some of the stickier political issues, right? The things where there's a lot of disagreement, like the border, for example, people seeking asylum. And so that is the calculation that Democrats are going to be making as they try to push forward some sort of protection for groups that they know Republicans will kind of agree with them about supporting, while they still want to try to make changes in the more divisive spaces of the immigration landscape.
Right. TPS, by the way, for folks who don't know, temporary protected status for those who are, say, in areas where there have been natural disasters and fleeing armed conflicts, those kinds of situations. But, Caitlin, how have DACA recipients and immigration advocates reacted to the judge's ruling?
Well, this is really why I say I feel like a broken record sometimes. I mean, what I've been hearing with DACA recipients from the first year they receive this status is that they feel like they're used as political footballs, political pawns, whatever metaphor you want to use. It's very frustrating. It takes over one's entire life, as you can imagine, whether you're in college or whether you're working. You don't know if, tomorrow the United States government is going to tell you that you have to leave. There are hundreds of thousands of United States citizen children whose parents are DACA recipients at this point. This program has been in place for some time. And so, the longer that it has been around and the longer that people who benefit it have been living in the United States, the more deeply rooted they are here. And so there's, I see two things. I see kind of an exasperation, almost a kind of a frustrated eye roll because, yet another shift in their opportunities and their future, is being reported to them this week. And then at the same time, I think you see the stakes rise each year that this fight drags on because, like I said, people become further embedded into the country, into society, and it becomes, that much more difficult to think about the prospect of having to leave.
Caitlin, I want to briefly ask you about another recent development. The Biden administration said it will seek to rapidly deport migrant families traveling with children who cross the southern border illegally. What is behind that decision?
So this decision really speaks to how limited any presidential administration is in terms of trying to address flows across the border. The Biden administration right now is dealing with very large numbers of families crossing the border, and presidents basically have two options. You know, they have messaging or they have enforcement, and we've seen this administration try messaging. Vice President Harris went to Central America and asked people not to come. I've seen at least 3 administrations do that in a row, and it doesn't work. And so the other option is enforcement. In this case, it's a process where as soon as somebody's encountered by immigration agents, they're right away being processed for deportation. It can happen within a day. They do have an opportunity to speak up and say that they think they're eligible for asylum or protections. They're scared to go to their home countries, but advocates often say that, you know, those concerns aren't always raised because you have this very truncated, fast-tracked process. It's not as formalized. And so you're relying on a border agent to hear you out and to give you that opportunity to plead your case before you're processed out of the country. So concerns there raised by advocates who say people who are eligible for asylum are going to be deported anyway. But again, it speaks to the sort of limited options that the Biden administration has, short of Congress changing the laws to try to address what's happening at the border.
All right, Caitlin Dickerson with The Atlantic. Thank you so much, Caitlin.
Thank you.